In this lesson, we're going to learn the long walking stance. And this is also sometimes called a low stance. So, what do I mean by long walking stance? Well, we're familiar with regular walking stance, which is basically this. So, feet shoulder width apart and about 1.5 shoulder widths in length, where you have your front knee bent and you have your back leg straight. This is a regular walking stance. The long walking stance, or low stance, is when you take that front foot and you move it about, well, at least 1 foot length further out. The stance gets a little bit wider as well. It's still front knee bent, it's still back leg straight, and your body is still upright. You're not leaning forward or doing anything like that. But now you are in a long walking stance. And we call it a long walking stance because that's exactly what it is. The term low stance is not specific enough. Long walking stance is very clear, very easy to understand. And that's what you're doing. So there are times where we need to stretch out on a particular technique. You know, for example, a high punch where we need to really reach to get it in there. There are also techniques where we need to get lower down to the ground to our opponent to be able to do the technique more effectively. That's another time where you will see long walking stance used. And we'll cover those as we get to them. So again, everything on a need to know basis. But like I said, if this is a regular walking stance, right, a regular ITF style walking stance, feet shoulder width apart, 1.5 shoulder widths long, then a long walking stance or low stance, that front leg moves at least 1 foot length, your foot length further, and the stance gets a little bit wider, but you're still upright. So you're not leaning forward, you're not leaning backward, your weight is still 50-50 on both legs. And this is the long walking stance right here. So again, if I'm demonstrating this, if I'm doing, for example, like a punch, for instance, and I need to really reach it in there, right? We call this, when it's same hand, same foot, and we're stepping and punching, it's often called a lunge punch. So we'll get into that more later. But when you really need to stretch forward or when you need to get lower down, long walking stance is used for that purpose. So that is long walking stance, also known as low stance in Taekwondo.